I think is rightly pointed out that this government, the Narendra Modi government, was incredibly lucky that it got a bonanza of something like 10 lakh crores, as he pointed out. Now, I can say that even if you don't go by that estimate, certainly 7 lakh crore rupees, 700,000 crore rupees, was a benefit that directly came to the union government, because it increased the excise duties on petroleum products. Now, if you look at the way things worked, only 1/4 of the benign oil prices, crude oil prices, were passed on to the consumer. 3/4 of that gain came to the government. And today, we are in a huge mess, because it's not only the coming 12 months in the run-up to the next general elections, but in the foreseeable future, there is every likelihood that international oil prices are going to remain firm or go up. Now, why does this matter such a lot for India? India is currently importing 80% of the country's total requirements of crude oil. And if you look at our total import bill, roughly 1/3 of the total import bill comprises crude oil. So this kind of, I should say, profligacy on the part of the union government not to have utilized this bonanza is, in my opinion, has had terrible consequences for each and every citizen of this country. Diesel is what is called a universal intermediate. It enters into, there's a ripple effect, because it results in transportation costs going up, and we are going to see inflation on the rise. If you will recall, during the 10 years of the UPA government, inflation was at a very, very high level. And food inflation, yes, food inflation was also very high. Now, what happens when there's food inflation? Because the underprivileged sections of society spend a higher proportion of their income on food, what we saw over the 10-year period of the UPA government was a widening of inequalities. That process has not only continued, the way things are going, things are likely to become worse. India was always an unequal society. But I think today inequality in India has reached proportions which are absolutely terrible. I think there are very few countries in the world where inequality, that is the gap between the rich and the poor, is so wide. Perhaps South Africa is one of them. There are various studies, there are various estimates that have been done, but inequality in India has really gone up. And many can argue that no, it's not the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. We can argue otherwise. You can say, okay, no, the poor are not getting poorer. But what cannot be denied is that the gap between the rich and the poor has widened and continues to widen at an alarming pace. And as Mr. Mairam already commented, this has fraught with consequences for our social fabric. Same problem, unemployment. During the 10 years of the UPA government, we talked about jobless growth. The BJP was in the forefront of talking about jobless growth. Today we have a situation where not only do we have jobless growth, we have a situation where even those sectors which were creating jobs are throwing out people. There have been job losses. And one of the defining aspects of the last 4 years of this government has been the attempt to fudge figures. It's very straight, you know. I mean, economists are in the forefront of doing this. The late Ashok Mitra, who just passed away on May Day, used to compare economists to Brahmins of the medieval times. They used to act as a buffer between the king and the masses. Their job was to use figures and statistics That's exactly what's been happening. Somebody's looking at employees' provident fund data says to say that no, actually jobs have been created. The reality on the ground is that jobs are being lost. Not only are we not able to create enough jobs in terms of those who are seeking employment, but actually jobs have been lost. Don't believe me? Check it out. Go and speak to people even in the information technology sector, which had been in the recent past creating a lot of jobs. Two other points he's made which are very, very important, and we can discuss this in greater detail. The non-performing assets of the banking system have reached amazing levels. If you look at stressed assets, it's almost equal, or it's roughly equal to exactly the amount of money that the government has gained thanks to the oil bonanza. 10 lakh crores. And the interesting part of the whole story, that you are worried, I mean, you scream and shout and you say there's a moral hazard if farmers want their loans to be waived. But these loans have not been taken by farmers, only a small proportion of those loans have been taken from farmers. The bulk of the loans have been taken by wealthy industrialists, and some of them including my schoolmate Shri Vijay Mallya. Not to mention Lalit Modi, Nirav Modi. You can blame my school, it's alright. No. You think Mehul Choksi is going to come back? No. You think Nirav Modi is going to come back? They're gone. Which are some of the biggest the companies where the non-performing assets are the highest. What is this non-performing asset? It's a euphemism for loans not being repaid. And the biggest culprits in this regard are some of the richest people in this country. The really big owners of capital, finance capital. Now, why is this important and why do you link it with farmers asking for loans? Is because, as has been pointed out earlier, the crisis, the ongoing crisis in rural India has worsened in the last 4 years. And I'm sure my colleagues Madhuresh ji and Ashok ji will talk about it in greater detail. What is the crude fact? Here is the government, after 3.5 years, 4 years, it suddenly says, okay, we're going to give double the minimum support price. You're not telling the people how you're going to calculate that minimum support price. You've woken up, now you want to say we're going to give insurance for everybody. You've suddenly woken up. And the broken state of public health care. The fact is, every 40 to 45 minutes in this country, a farmer is committing suicide. That is the reality of the India that we live in. Okay, we are a large country and more than half the population or half the population is directly, indirectly dependent on agriculture for their livelihood. But the fact is, those who produce food for you are today engaged in the riskiest of all professions. Is this a desirable situation to be in? No, it's terrible. The last point I want to say, and this is connected with the lies, the damn lies and the statistics. Demonetization. It's been 1.5 years. You were told it would reduce black money, right? You were told वो जो जाली नोट है ना जो आतंकवादी इस्तेमाल करते हैं वो खत्म हो जाएगा. फिर आपने कहा कि cashless से less cash society आ गया. What is the reality? The reality is just the opposite. Here was one man's whimsical decision, arguably the most disruptive decision taken in peacetime anywhere in the world, for one man's whim, one man's ego. And look at the devastation it's caused to the weakest sections of India's population, the women, the daily wage laborers, the small shopkeeper, the farmer, you name it. Maybe we can have some of the other speakers talking, but I'm saying that, look, are you trying to tell me it takes the Reserve Bank of India 10 months to count the notes? Or 11 months, and then it has to tell you that no, 99.6% of the money has come back? I mean, come on. Today, the crisis in the Indian economy is a manifestation of the crisis of institutions across the country. It's not just the Supreme Court. It's the Reserve Bank of India. I mean, look at the way in which institution after institution has been undermined. And the credibility of the government and the statistics and the statisticians and its economists is really amazing. The last point I want to make is that, yes, things are in a mess. But for some people it doesn't matter, right? The gentleman who heads the organization which is involved in the Rafale deal, check out what are his non-performing assets. Check out the assets of the businessman in whose plane the Prime Minister flew in the run-up to the 2014 elections and his campaign. It's all information in the public domain. Yes, we saw earlier crony capitalism. We not only continue to see crony capitalism, forget socialism. This is not even capitalism. And everything is legal, right? Mr. Jay Shah's company, his business has gone up by 16,000 times. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely not. The Rajasthan Chief Minister, Mrs. Vasundhara Raje Scindia's son, Dushyant Raje's company's shares are picked up by Shri Lalit Modi at a very fancy price. Nothing wrong with that. The poster girl of the Indian banking sector, Mrs. Chanda Kochar, her husband's brother, their businesses haven't done badly. In fact, you could argue that if only we were all so lucky, if only we had such sweethearts, if only my 9 lakh company could get 6,000 crore loans. So, regretfully for all of us, it's a matter that none of us Indians can be proud of. None of us can be proud of. At the end of the day, we are suffering. We are all suffering. Gujarat State Petroleum Corporation is in the red by 10,000 crores. Who picks it up? The Oil and Natural Gas Commission, in which my friend Dr. Sambit Patra, spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party, is an independent director. Who owns the ONGC, ladies and gentlemen? It's you and I. Punjab National Bank has the biggest ever bank fraud. Who owns Punjab National Bank, ladies and gentlemen? You and I. That is the tragedy of the Indian economy. Thanks. I'm through.